Welcome to True Wellness with Dr. D, the podcast where we explore what it takes to live with vitality, balance, and purpose. I am Dr. D, and each week I'll bring you powerful tools, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you thrive in every area of your life. From health and wellness to mindset and navigating life's challenges, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of true well-being. Be sure to check the show notes and grab your free copy of the True Wellness Checklist so you can get started on your journey to true wellness right away. Now, let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of True Wellness. I am so excited to have you here today for another episode. We are going to talk about real stories, real people. And I am joined by Joann Nellis today. And I want you to imagine you get to a point in life where you expect that you should be living your dreams, having everything just be magical, right? You wake up and you feel energized, except you don't. And that is where Joann found herself just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, it was, I found you in 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's 2025 already.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Well, tell us a little, Joann, what was life like back then? What was happening? What were you dealing with?
So I was really struggling to do anything. I was in my early 50s, couldn't walk up the stairs normal. Like I had to do one step at a time, up and down the stairs as if I was 80 years old.
Yes.
I felt exhausted. I would go to work and come home and want to go to bed. Not want to do anything with my friends, family. I was trying to go out walking and I'd have to stop and sit on my walks. Yeah.
That was from the pain. That was from stamina. What was stopping you from even having the mobility that you wanted?
My joints ached. I felt miserable. I was extremely overweight. I was somebody that had been dieting on and off from the time I was about 16 years old. So lots of yo-yo. I did every diet you could possibly think of. The only thing I hadn't done was bariatric surgery. I hadn't done anything. I had tried, I'd lose, I would do really well. And then it came back. It would all come back. And then I'd be miserable, even more so than before. And I really was at the point where I couldn't think straight. I was exhausted. I was miserable. I didn't know what to do anymore. I told my husband, I said, I don't think I can work anymore. I don't know what to do. He was literally helping me get in and out of bed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How long was that going on?
It really got probably from 2020, which I also got very, very sick when all the viruses were around. I because I wasn't healthy, I got very, very ill and I really never recovered. I did not get my energy back after that. So yeah, it's been almost 2 years.
Oh my gosh. So you were in like this, it sounds like you were in this downward spiraling vortex almost.
Yes, very, very much. So I was on the internet scrolling, trying to figure out what to do. And I saw this ad for a webinar in it. And it was all of the things, the brain fog, the misery, the just every day, just not struggling to get up and move and achy joints. And I had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And one of the medications is steroids, which I knew from having steroids when my children were born. Yes. That I just got heavier and heavier every time anyone gave me steroids. And I said, oh my goodness, like I'm close to 300 pounds here. If you give me steroids for my rheumatoid arthritis, I'm going to be 400 pounds and I really won't be able to move. So I was resistant to medication for the rheumatoid arthritis. And, I was just trying everything. I was just hunting the internet. So I did apply. I signed up for your webinar. And I expected to have just a recording, and I didn't. I had you answering my questions,
Yes.
really answering by name, giving my name, everything. I said, wow, this is not a recording.
This is
So,
something a little different.
yeah. And it just, everything that I felt
Yeah.
was expressed in this webinar, and not just, from what you were talking about. It's everything I felt. And I said to my husband, um, this might be okay. And
Right.
then little by little, I moved on. I had my little phone call with you, and then we had our big session, the two of us, the three of us, with
Yes.
my husband.
Yeah.
And he even said I wasn't me anymore.
Yeah.
That I was sad. I had no more energy. And I was somebody who ran around with my children all the time. I taught preschool.
Yes.
So how much more energy could you have? And I just
Sure.
wasn't me anymore. I was exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing made me happy.
I think so many women find themselves, especially as they're in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, where they feel like they're losing themselves, where they're like this shell of a person that they used to be, whether it's,
Hmm.
emotionally, physically, you know, with their community. It's how did you find your way out of that? Like, what was like the trigger for you that was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do something different?
I think really just not being able to walk up and down stairs,
Mhm.
not being able to walk, just not doing things that I wanted to do. I couldn't stand looking at myself in the mirror. We were getting ready to have our 30th anniversary, and we were going to have a renewal ceremony. And my daughter wanted me to go dress shopping. And I said, the last thing I want to do is stand in front of people and have them take my picture. Because every picture, and I remember telling you this, I hid in the back. I
Right.
hid behind my children. And I've got really tall boys that are over 6 feet. And I've got my daughter who's 5'7". And I would hide behind everybody. And it was just like my little head. And I said, the last thing I want to do is stand in front of people and have them take my picture and put this dress on, and oh my goodness, imagine I'm gonna just look awful. And she just said to me, "No, no, no, it's so special. You're going to get this nice dress." And that was one of the things I think we talked about our first meeting, that I did not even want to do this renewal and this party because I just felt so awful.
Yeah. And you did it though.
I
You did
did,
it. You look smashing.
I did.
See it.
And one of the things that really I so needed your program because I was doing what I thought was healthy eating, what
Mm,
the world gave to me in an advertisement as healthy eating. And I
right.
kept saying to everyone, everybody would say, well, portion control, and tell me to eat that, this, that, and that. And I'd say, but I am doing all that
Right.
and I'm gaining weight. So how is this possible? I went to the doctor. Your thyroid is fine. You get all of that. Everything's fine. Your blood sugar's fine. Everything's
Yes.
fine. You know, and my blood pressure was high, and he kept giving me more pills instead of, "Oh, what can we do for your blood pressure?" And
Yes.
every doctor, I would hate to go to the doctor because they'd say, "Oh, you have to lose weight." But there was nobody. My medical doctor did say to me, "I think it is time for a nutritionist or a dietitian." So
Right.
I was looking for them, and I was not happy with what I found.
Why not?
Well, because I felt like the plans that they were offering me were the same things I was eating. So I was saying to myself, but I eat that now, and it was more portion control. And
Right.
I was like, I don't, and my daughter kept saying to me, you're starving yourself. So eating less is not going to do it for you.
Oh, yeah, that is a big thing when it comes to weight loss, right? Because that's what we've been taught. We've been taught just decrease your calories,
Yeah.
exercise more, cut down your calories, and then here it is. Most women are stuck because the weight's not moving because the formula doesn't work.
I was going walking. I was doing something called walk at home,
Okay.
also. So, I was doing all these things. And again, like I said, what I would, and it was very depressing. I'd lose like 5 pounds or 10 pounds, and then slowly it would come back.
Yeah.
So,
So how did you break the cycle?
well, when I started working with you, and of course the coaches, of course Lorraine and Clarissa, we you sent me, well, all of you sent me recipes. said,
Yes.
let's see what we can do. And then of course we did the 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 scans to
Yeah.
see what would be good for me to eat. And the and this was the funny thing is like the amount of food that I actually got to eat versus what I was eating. And I
Uh-huh.
looked at it and I really jumped in with I jumped in with 2 feet. Like I was really excited to do it. You said, "Oh, don't cheat." And I was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm not going to." And I never did. And like I didn't have all the I sit in my support groups and I listen to the others and I never looked to cheat. I never craved chocolate cake, nothing because I was
Right.
so excited by the prospect because I had results right away.
Yeah.
As soon as when you said take out the oil, I was a little bit like, "Oh, what am I going to cook with?" But
Right.
I did get used to it right away. It was like, "Okay, well, I'll use low sodium broths. I'll use yeah, even water, just put like a little water." And then I ditched all of my nonstick stuff and I have ceramic and stainless steel and and it was better. And I started cooking the recipes. That was like right away. Those recipes that were sent to me were great because I started cooking them and my husband said, "You make them for me too. So you don't feel like you're not in this."
Ah, that
So
makes sense.
that was a really good that he did
Yeah.
that with me, and my kids were absolutely super supportive, and that really makes a difference.
Mhm.
And I cooked these meals, and it just started coming off, and I started to feel the other thing is, and I know now that this is because I was eating right, I felt fine after I ate. I was
Yes.
full.
You feel before.
Before, I would feel exhausted. Like, at first, I would just sit there after a meal, and I couldn't get up. And
Yes.
I knew I had to clean up and everything else. Ugh. And then about an hour later, I was looking for something else to eat because I wasn't satisfied,
Right.
And but this, I would eat this food and I would say, I feel really good. I feel satisfied. I feel fine. And I would get right up and be able to do things.
Yeah, and you weren't
So
starving yourself anymore.
no, not at all. I was eating a lot of food. My husband was saying like when I first started to lose weight and people noticed,
Uh-huh.
people would say, "Oh, you're like did this, you did." He said, "No, you should see how much food she eats. She eats more than me." My husband's a big guy. She eats more than me. Like I have a friend who owns a restaurant, so I was able to still go out to eat because I would go there and he would tell the staff, "Make it the way she wants."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I was still able to have my dinner out once in a while, and like I'd say, "Oh, you just have to saute it, but please don't put oil in it, or use of course sometimes they would, but use olive oil instead, please, or whatever."
Yes.
And they did, and like I remember going there, and there was something that was made with flour because I went gluten free right away.
Right.
I had been gluten free and it didn't do anything for me until now. And they said, "Oh no, we're gonna change that whole recipe. We're just gonna grill the chicken for you. We'll put it on the grill rather than on the pan." So
Yes.
like they literally changed the recipe. And I do know now that people usually don't have a problem with you asking,
So true. It's
"Can
so
you give me
true.
vegetables?"
Nervous.
Mhm.
It's
Yes,
more our own internal
it
worries.
is.
Are they gonna think I'm weird? Are they gonna think I'm annoying? Or like we've got all these like pre-programmed things about why we can't ask for the things that we need when people are like happy when they can provide it for you, you know?
And it was funny yesterday when we were out to eat. Of course, everything wasn't perfect what I had, but one of the kids ordered something and they said, "We purposely ordered this because it comes with cut vegetables." And we thought at least you would eat that because a lot of times I will go out and I just won't eat it. I'll just say it's fine, I don't need it. And then
Right?
they feel bad. They're like, "Oh, we want to go places where you feel comfortable."
Yes.
And, like I said, most places will and I usually go to places where I know the owner or I know somebody,
Sure.
so I feel more that's a big Staten Island thing, I think. We all know each other. But yeah, I right away, like, I was different, and it wasn't just losing the weight, I felt better. Like, I felt like I could think,
Yeah.
and I felt happier, and I felt like a and you see the pictures of me, the before and the after. The after, people kept saying, "Oh my goodness, you look so great." Like my skin, my and this is an interesting thing is so when I stopped having all these oils and all these sugars, and I
Uh,
went away on vacation, and well, not even that. Everybody said, "Where have you been?" I went to the lake where I normally do. "Did you go to the islands?" And I said, "No." They said, "You're so tan." And I said, well, I just go walking. I go outside and I get fresh vitamin D all the time. I get
Mhm.
vitamin D, I walk. And I have to tell you, I do not burn and I do not use sunscreen.
Yes.
And I'm outside and I'm tan all the time. And the kids all say that mom's tan all the time. The kids say that. And it's like, and I have been reading recently that when you do cut out all the seed oils and all of the things like that, you do tan and your body does, your skin improves, exponentially, like everything.
Mhm.
Like people say to me all the time, like, you don't look 59,
Yeah.
like I don't even use, like, I went on a couple of like wellness sites and things and looked for skin products and makeup and things that were not toxic because I said, well, I
Yes.
don't want anything going in my body that's toxic,
Right.
so it was. And then you had me talk to me about fluoride.
Mhm.
My teeth have never been so clean.
Isn't it amazing?
Uh, so I had my mother give up give up fluoride, and she says the same thing, and then my mother said, "Can I do what you're doing?" My mother cut out seed oils, cut out sugar. My mother lost 55 pounds,
Wow, mom.
and she's 85, and she's doing really good. And she was able to have heart surgery that she probably wouldn't have been able to have before she went on a better diet.
Yeah, it just added years
So
to your life. Yeah. It's so
so,
funny, Joanne. I
mhm,
mean, people get like they get scared, right? They get worried, like, oh my gosh, Joanne, you cut out seed oils and
yeah,
sugar and you ate more vegetables. Like, how do you live life? How do you
I
manage?
know.
Really, that's what people kind of think. So what is your secret to success? Like how did you make that transition and how did you really make it work for your life where you weren't feeling like you were being deprived or your body was bad or anything? How did
Well,
you
I think
yeah,
this is something you may have said early on, but I tend to look at foods like fast food or like restaurant food that's dripping with cheese or things
yes,
like that, and or things that are in a box. I tend to look at them and say, wow, that's just it's poison. Like I tell myself, you're not going to feel good if you eat that. And I don't feel good if like this few times I've eaten these things, I don't feel well. So I
yes,
think for me, it was a little different than other people because I really didn't feel well. And when I let these things go, I felt better. So besides, the bonus was losing the weight,
right,
but the real why was I want to feel better. The real why did you do this is because I wanted to have the energy in the job that I have now that I was telling you before we started to record.
right,
I take children all over a museum
uh-huh,
during the course of my teaching. We have an exhibit where I have to walk up 3 flights and then
uh-huh.
teach.
That's awesome.
So 3 years ago, I couldn't have gone up one flight. I would have been stopping everything. But I walk up those and I walk up pretty fast. The kids are all huffing and puffing, and I'm fine. And I say all the time, there's no way. And then I'll go in the park and I'll walk,
Mhm.
anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 miles, depending on what I can do.
Right.
And I love it. And I'm just like ready to do more.
Yeah.
I recently started to do Tai Chi,
That's
and I balanced on one foot yesterday, and that's a new thing for me. That's a really and I just keep telling myself, you know, I don't need to eat Dunkin' Donuts. I need to stand on one foot. I need to be able to walk up 3 flights of stairs. I
yeah.
need to be able to um, feel good about myself. My nephew got married in August,
Mhm.
and I hadn't seen that side of the family in a while, and they were just blown away by me, and they said it wasn't just the weight. They said, "You just shine. You're happy.
Yes.
You have confidence, you feel better."
Yes.
And they said that right away. They're like, it's more than just the weight. But it's true. I started and I do the support group on, Wednesdays, which is wonderful too, and we do talk about the fact that we have to heal inside. We can't
Yeah.
just heal. There's a reason the outside happened,
Yes.
and that's important too. So that's what I'm working a lot on that now because I still have to get to my goal weight. I'm not there, but I think a lot of it has to do with how I have to because the initial weight was inflammation. So that
Sure.
wasn't that hard to get off.
Yeah.
This is now actual weight. This is now actual,
Yeah. Isn't
fat.
it
And this is
body
also
protection?
yes.
Yeah.
And this is maintenance, maintaining as well. And I am proud of the fact that most of the weight I have maintained, like a large portion of it.
Yes.
So, and that's a long time. I mean, I was down 80 something pounds just in 2022.
Right. Right.
And I'm still down all that weight plus.
Yes. It's
But
amazing.
yeah.
Really amazing. But
um,
I love what you said, Joanne, because I think this is a really key important piece because there's so much these days, quick fix, let's go get some injections, you'll lose weight with the injections. But what you said is really important because, well, number one, we've got to correct the physiology, we've got to correct the hormones, we've got to correct, the inflammation. We can't just put a band-aid on it. But number two, outside of that physiology, there's the emotional components of how did we get here to begin with? How did the thought patterns, the behaviors, that how do we reprogram, repattern those things? Because I think that's where, and tell me what your thoughts are, but I think that is where a lot of those much deeper issues end up coming from. And when we heal those, it's like we heal on a whole other level.
well, I think for me, the kids, having the 3 kids,
Yes.
and I always worked and I always taught, and it was always about everyone else but me.
Yes.
And everything was rushed and in a hurry. And when you're rushed and in a hurry, you're not going to sit and cut fresh vegetables all the time. You're not going to do it. I mean, you want to. I want to. I was healthy, but also too the fact that I've told you that I wasn't really super overweight, but yet I was dieting all the time. So
Sure.
I did not have a good body image to begin with.
Hmm.
From I look back at pictures of myself when I was young where I thought I was fat. I was like, oh, I'm terrible. I'm fat. I'm this and that. And I
Yes.
look at myself and I say, my God, you were beautiful. Like, what were you thinking? Like, why were you thinking that? Why did you waste so much time
Oh,
thinking, picking yourself apart in pictures? Like, why did, and unfortunately, this is kind of the culture with women,
it is.
we just, and I grew up watching my mother do it too,
Yeah.
constantly on a diet, constantly trying to
Sure.
fit into these clothes and dyeing her hair and this and that. And now I don't dye my hair anymore either. That's the other thing that came from this. I let my hair go natural and it's the best thing I ever did. Again, more toxins out of me.
Yeah.
And my natural hair is fine. I get more compliments now than I did when I dyed my hair. So
Yeah.
but there's something that we women really think we think that we have to do these things. We have to be, so then you don't give yourself enough time. Like I didn't give myself that time that if I was tired on a Sunday that I could just lay down and rest. Like
Right.
instead of having to, well, no, I have to clean everything and I have to make a pot of sauce and I have to, go take the kids here and do this and do that. And they have to be in every single sport. And you don't, and I get to a point where, and I was actually talking to somebody recently and I didn't know what I wanted anymore. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't about me. Nothing was about me. And I will
Mhm.
say one of the first things that you did for me was get rid of that coffee mate
Oh,
because
yes.
I was living on coffee because I was constantly on the go and
Right.
I was dumping coffee mate in there. And now I like not ever, ever would I touch
No.
that. The whole thought of it is like, oh my god. And I read every single label and say, why would I want to put that in my body? Like, and I didn't care about my body as much
Yeah.
before, where I said, why do I want to do that? I want to live longer. I want to feel better. Why? Just because that tastes good, that other things taste good.
Right.
So, and
Right.
I've really changed myself. Like I eat a lot. So I go to work and I get out of work and my snack as soon as I get out of work, and I'm like all ready for it, like every day. I have a whole bunch of cut vegetables, just
Yeah.
with a little Himalayan salt, a little pink salt on it. That's
Yeah.
it. I have a whole little container of my cut vegetables, and when I get out of work, it's in my little cooler, and I'm good with that. That's my, and that's there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not depriving myself. Like I don't
Yeah.
feel deprived. It tastes fine.
And that's so
find.
important, right? That's such an important mindset because I think what you've successfully done is switched your mindset, right? Because most people are walking around, they're like, oh, eat cooked vegetables. I want my whatever, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm depriving myself. But what you said is you're not. It's like, why would I ever want to do something different to my body? And that is a really powerful mindset shift.
And it's very hard. And again, we've talked about this a lot in our group. I was a stress eater, and I still, when something really horrible happens, sometimes I'm like, oh, what can I eat? Like my brain is just like, because you go like you just go get something,
Right.
and I have to tell myself, don't do that. Let's do something else. Go take a walk.
Yes.
Something. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. Trust me, I'm not. But the other
None of
issue
us
is
are, sweetie. None of us are perfect.
no, and that's the other issue is since I've maintained a lot of this weight, I'll go to social situations and they'll tell me, "Oh, it's just one night. You can have this. Oh, you're on vacation. You can have that." And
Right.
you and I had a meeting after my vacation last summer,
Uh-huh.
and I had gone off and had things that I used to not usually not have, and I was very sick. It took
Yeah.
me a long time. I had asked you to give me some supplements and some pointers and
Right.
castor oil and all of these things I had to do, but I was very sick. I had braces on both hands, carpal
Mhm.
tunnel braces on both hands. I couldn't walk. I said to my husband, I feel like I felt in 2022
Oh,
before South Bay, like
yeah.
I felt awful. And I said, well, this is why.
Yes.
This is why when people say it's just 1 week, it's just this, it's just no, I can never do that. Like I'm, and I'm flat out tell people I'm allergic to that because I can't,
Right.
that's all they'll understand, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, you've connected it, right? So a lot of people walk around and they never connect like what it is that they're eating creates this inflammation. And so they keep eating the same thing and the inflammation like it comes and it goes and it comes and it goes and they've never put the two together. And you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I totally see the connection here. I'm not it's not worth it, right? It's not worth
Well,
it."
I think for me is that the first 30 days that I was working with you,
Yes.
I was down 30 pounds. Like I went down really quick.
Yes.
So for me, and that's obviously inflammation.
Yeah.
So for me,
Right.
it was shown to me immediately that what I was doing before was hurting me really badly, and then I needed to just move forward. And I think a lot of people don't get that kind of results, so they
Right.
don't see it. They don't realize.
Yeah.
But for me, because I have the rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis, that I don't want to take medicine for, that's
Yes.
also a driving force for me. My mother took medicine for her rheumatoid arthritis, and it destroyed her bladder,
Right.
and she needed surgery and all of these things. And I said, well, that's not going to be me.
Mhm. Mhm.
The other thing, and this is going to sound not so nice, but a few times I've sat with my mother in the hospital where she's had procedures and whatever, and I see people that I don't think are that far from my age,
Right.
just miserable and having procedures and having this. And I'm saying, I don't want this to be me.
Hey, this is Dr. D. I just wanted to remind you that you can get started on your true wellness journey. Go ahead and check the show notes and grab a link to the True Wellness Checklist. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah.
This is not what I want.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's true. We're losing quality of life younger and younger these days, right? They say, oh, we're living longer, but it's not even about how long we're living because we're artificially increasing our lifespan. But that whole quality of life piece is so pivotal. I don't know. For me, it's like if I can't walk and I can't do
Hmm.
things and I can't be with my family and I don't know what my name is and I can't, wipe my rear end, then that for me, that's not quality of life. So I want to have that quality of life for as long as I possibly can. I want to be able to dictate like, okay, I've done my work, I'm done, I'm going to bed now, and I'm done,
Hmm.
right? Like that. That's the kind of life that I think is worth aspiring to get to, right? Rather than being at consequence to everything else.
Well, I think now, like, remember, I had that goal and I did buy a dress for the 30th anniversary and I had sent you pictures, and I
Yes.
did buy a nice dress and I wore it, and everybody, and I posted it on social media. And I got so many, "Oh my goodness, look at you. You know, you look so wonderful. You've it's like you went backwards in time, as far as my how I looked, that I looked so young
Yes.
and I looked so vibrant and happy and all of these things." And it was just it's such a different feeling to be able to physically do things and to just feel comfortable with yourself and to look in the mirror. I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, "Oh my goodness, who is that?" That's always the person I wanted to be. And the other thing that I learned through this program was not just the eating. I learned about setting my metabolism, which I never understood, and I understand now. So all of the things that you have us read, I
Yes.
read them all, and I still tell people,
Yeah.
okay, well, I had to study this, so I'm not just making this up.
Right.
This is what's
Right.
happening. That's what's happening. And one of the things was the 40 days, and then having the 20 days to settle
Yes.
the metabolic rate, and
Right.
then to start again, and then the days where we reset. Like
Yeah.
these are all things that I didn't know. I was on Weight Watchers. They don't teach you that.
Right.
I was on all these other things I was on.
Yeah.
I was never taught that. I was also never taught to add supplements,
Yes.
things that your body is lacking, that you need to have more. It was just, we'll cut back on the food, we'll put things on a scale, count your
Right.
points, all of that. It's not realistic. It's
Yes.
not realistic living,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't be worried about every single thing and count every single thing. And it's important at the beginning of your journey. You've got
Yes.
to you've got
Yes.
to you've got to wire that stuff in. So that's important, but it's not something you should have to do all the time for the rest of your life. It's so important. So I hear a lot of different things that have been very valuable for you, like the support of your family and
Mhm.
having the community to be in the journey, having that the education, like all of these things being pivotal, identifying where the weaknesses are within your body that are were contributing to all those things. And then just this mindset shift of, you know, is this really what my body needs? Is this worth it? Right? What what do you think sort of allowed you to have that transformation, allowed you to make that shift?
I think looking, well, definitely looking at myself in the mirror and not feeling horrible
Yeah.
and seeing myself in pictures and saying, wow, that's the way I want to look. Like that's the way I want to look. I want to look vibrant. I want to look, and having less brain fog and having less pain is a real motivator. To not
Yes.
have all that pain. And now next year, now I have another goal because next year I'm turning 60,
Uh-huh.
and we're trying to save. It's so hard in these times, but we want to go to Italy, and I want to walk up the Spanish steps, and I want to be able to do all these things without feeling miserable. So I think for me, just because I want to do things and I like the way I look. I liked being at my nephew's wedding and wearing this beautiful form-fitting wine colored dress that no one else had that color on, and I was okay with that. Whereas, 100 pounds ago, I would have been like, "Oh no, everyone's going to notice me. I don't want anyone to look at me." And now I want people to see me. Now I want to be seen. I'll stand in the front of a picture, which is one of the things you and I talked about so many times. And you said no more hiding. And I don't. I make sure. Last night was my birthday. We took pictures. I am not in the back. I'm not behind my daughter. I'm not, I used to grab her and stick her in front of me. And she said, I hated that. And I said, well, no, I don't do that anymore. I think for me, to be able to make the change, just just to think about what I want and be able to do it. And if you're physically and emotionally not able to do that, that's that. Well, I don't want to be 80, 90 years old and say, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I make myself be better that I could do this? I want to live that long too. That would be really nice. But as you said, I want to live that long knowing who I am and being able to get up and get things myself, make decisions for myself, not have somebody else doing it because, and it's funny because I have somebody I listen to, another doctor that is metabolic health. And I remember listening to him before I found you, and I'm walking and I'm trying so hard. And he made a comment about how obese people are not living, they're not elderly. you don't see elderly obese people because their bodies just give out. And I
Yes.
was like, at that point, I was morbidly obese. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm not going to live much longer. Like these things also click. I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. I want to be able to, every once in a while you hear that and you say, oh, that's not what I want for me. No, I don't want that. I want to be better. I want to. And now it's funny when you discover this too, and I want to tell everybody. Well, if but not everybody wants to hear it, so that's
Yeah.
a problem. But like I have a few relatives that will still do the Dunkin' stop and this and that, and I'll say, well, and they're like, oh, why can't I lose weight and why can't I feel better and why am I, miserable all the time? And it's like, well, if you don't do that and you try something else, maybe you'll feel better. But some people don't want to hear that.
Some
But again, I'm lucky because I do have the support. My husband also dropped 47 pounds
Mhm.
and has kept it off. And I wish he'd give up diet soda, but I've gotten him to give up a lot of things. So he's not eating Doritos and he's not eating all these things and the minute I see something, I'll say, oh my goodness, why are you eating that poison? Like, so that kind of takes your wind out of your sails if someone's calling it poison. But um, like I said, for me, I'm very lucky because all of my kids said, we know that you don't feel well and we want you to feel better. We want you to be who you are. And, I did not want to be a sickly elderly person
Yeah.
or even a sickly middle-aged person. And one of the coolest things was I got an email one day from my chart, from my medical chart.
Mhm.
And it said, there's a change to your chart. And I opened it up and I was no longer morbidly obese.
That's all.
The diagnosis was taken off. So that was a very nice day to not
Yeah.
have that. And that now I go to the doctor and I don't feel bad getting on the scale,
Mhm.
and they'll say, oh, look, you've maintained that weight loss. They definitely know that I want to lose more. But they're like, the fact that you have done this is really good.
I love
So,
that.
and I
And
don't have sleep apnea anymore either, by the way.
oh, amazing.
I do still wear my mask because there's nothing wrong with the oxygen flowing and it makes me sleep better and I feel better. And doctor said it's up to you. You want to wear it, go ahead. But you're not in any danger from sleep apnea.
Mhm.
So
Amazing.
mhm.
And I really want to acknowledge you because you made an important mindset shift. You made the shifts that were needed to just take your health and completely do a 180. I remember in the beginning when you weren't walking and like you would message about your wins, like I walked further and I walked further and hey, that's how far you walked. Like I remember as you were going through that journey, and it's just so inspiring when we as human beings are like, you know what, I've had enough. And I'm going to take back this power and control over my life. I matter. I'm important. Like you said before, I'm not standing in the back anymore.
Mhm.
Right? This is my life and it is so worth living. And it's just so powerful. So thank you for doing that for yourself and for sharing that beautiful journey with us.
And I have a beautiful dress for a wedding on Friday, and it is not plus size. Because that's the other thing too that is a really huge difference is that and I got rid of all my old plus size clothes and I could not believe how big they were.
Yeah.
And I do find pictures of myself sometimes. I'm like, wow, I did not think I looked like that.
Hmm.
And I didn't like the way I looked. I hated the way I looked, but I didn't think I was that big.
Yeah.
But so much of it. And when I see people, you can look at certain people and see that the inflammation is wearing them down.
Sure.
And I so desperately want to help them. But as I said, I'm not going to go up to everybody. Oh, I'm just not. But I do have a few friends I know that did call you. And I
Yeah.
do have a few friends that have made changes in other ways. And I inspired them. And that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And I did do the picture that everyone does at Thanksgiving time. and I put all the turkeys around me, like the 20-pound turkeys. And I put like 5 of them because there was, 100 pounds. And that big
Yeah.
20-pound turkey, I was carrying that. And
Mm,
that's really quite the picture. Like a lot of my friends were doing that had been on various programs, and or maybe they had weight loss surgery. I don't know. And
right.
I'm thinking, wow, you know what? I was carrying all that big, big turkeys. If you carry that, if you sat there and you held 4 of them, I was carrying more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no wonder I couldn't walk.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Tell us, Joann. I always ask all of our guests to share with our listeners, what do you believe are, the top 3 suggestions, recommendations that you can make for our listeners that will help them begin to move on their journey right now?
Well, definitely identify what you want for yourself.
Mm,
What do you want? And that's the hardest thing for me was it was never about what I wanted.
uh-huh.
And if this this is good for you, you're going to do it. And if someone else doesn't like it, they can just take care of themselves.
Right.
You have to do for yourself.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. My husband was perfectly fine with having the vegetables and the grilled chicken or whatever I made, the fish. He wasn't crazy about the fish, but other things. But a lot of people have resistance. And basically you have to say, okay, you can have that. This is for me because I have to do something for me. And I had to learn that.
Yes.
And so that, and plus I really dreamed for a long time that I would look the way I look. And for a while, I gave up and said that I'm not going to look that way. And I learned not to give up. You can't give up. If this is the way you want to be, just keep going till you find something that works. And
Yeah.
that's how I found the webinar. And you know what? Take a chance, because I did the webinar and I'm sure everybody under the sun was just like, why would you click on a webinar from Facebook? And I said, because it answered all of and it wasn't costing me anything to see this webinar. It
Right.
was nothing.
Right.
And so you never know, like it was a real person on the other end.
Yes.
And if I didn't click on that and I didn't take that chance,
Mm.
I wouldn't have it. So that's kind of, and like I said, the biggest thing for me is don't be so hard on myself. 'Cause I'm very hard on myself. Even now, I have to tell myself not to pick apart myself in pictures,
Yeah. Yeah.
because so I had made it to my 100 pounds and I have 30 pounds to go and I'm done. And then I put back some of the weight, maybe, between 10 and 15, I go back and forth.
Yeah.
And I know I'm kind of mad at myself because now that makes it, I can't tell everybody I lost 100 pounds, but I did. I did.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
but, but it also now gives me 45 pounds to lose instead of 35 pounds. So, I say, ugh, but I decided to stop picking on myself about it because I'm not going to take off weight and I'm not going to feel better if I'm constantly saying, oh, look at that, you gained weight.
Yeah.
And then I started to get in that place again where I didn't want to get on the scale and I
Yeah.
don't want to see it. I don't, but you have to. I
Right.
have to. I have to. And I have to tell myself it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. And my body is okay. And I'm okay. And I look okay. And I feel okay. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
if I don't like me, nothing's going to change. If I don't take care of me,
Yeah.
nothing will happen.
That's so
So, yeah.
that's so key, Joann, because it's true. And we go into this in depth in our Body Beautiful program, but it really is like, if we don't have that self-love, like that, yes, you can bring down the inflammation, get rid of that piece there 100%. But in order for us to change our body, we've got to change the relationship that we have with our body. And this is,
That's,
we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences and different environments, and we all have different relationships with food. And most women that I have worked with, there are different trauma pieces in their past, in their background, and that contributes so much to some of those thoughts, some of those patterns, some of those behaviors that just hold us back. But the key underneath all of that comes down to that self-love. And that's just,
And I actually, that is definitely harder
mhm.
than giving up seed oils and sugar and gluten and dropping the weight. It's a lot harder
Yes.
to forgive myself
Yeah.
for and to say I'm worth it. I mean, that's the hardest thing is
Yes.
to say, I have to do these things for me.
Yeah.
And, because like I said, at night, I go to bed early now, which I never did. I stayed up. Why was I staying up? My
Mm.
body needs to go to sleep. Even if I don't go to sleep, I lay in bed and read a book. My
Right.
body has to have it. And then on Tuesday mornings, I get up before I go to work and do my meditation with Carissa's group. And
Yes.
when I first thought about that, I was like, oh, what am I doing? I have so much to do in the morning. It's a half an hour and
Yes.
it makes the whole day better.
Yes.
So what does it matter? It's a half an hour. Just do it for yourself, or it's an hour, you
Absolutely.
know.
We'll have to put the link for the meditation, the Tuesday.
Yes, because I keep mentioning these things that we do, but
We'll put the link into the show notes
Mhm.
for the podcast. So anybody listening wants to join the meditation in the morning, they can join it.
And I had meditated before all of this. It's something that I had done and I loved it and it was great for me. And then I got busy and stopped doing
Yes.
it.
Yes. And it is so important, right? Getting ourselves back to that
And
space.
now I found a little online Tai Chi, a
Love
little instruction. So that's my routine before I go to bed. I have
it.
my half hour of Tai Chi and there's meditation in part of the Tai Chi. And then I get in bed and it's just such a difference. My whole body is relaxed. These are all things I did not do for myself before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Putting ourselves on the
yes.
list is really important. It is
Mhm.
absolutely necessary to the self-healing journey.
Well,
Physical, mental,
that's right.
emotional, all of it. So
And I don't think I realized that when I was younger. It was all about just go on a diet, lose some weight, and that's it. But nothing changed because I didn't look inside either.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's so
Mhm.
powerful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I know that you have touched so many people who are listening to this story, who are going to just see themselves in you and start to think about, hey, am I putting myself, am I loving myself? And it's transformational. So thank you.
You're welcome. I really hope so. I hope that just even if it's just one person.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Joann. This is Dr. D reminding you to tune into your body, connect with what matters, and embrace the journey to true wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to redefine their health. Be sure to grab a copy of the True Wellness Checklist right in the show notes. Let's keep redefining wellness and empowering change together. See you for the next episode.